r/AskReddit. Serious drug dealers of Reddit, have you ever called CPS on a client? If so, what's the story?
When I was selling to her, a lady shook her crying baby in front of me. I wigged out, took the baby, dumped approximately $500 worth of cocaine and heroin and called 911 from my car. She didn't put up a fight until the cops came to arrest her. She tried to sue me for kidnapping. Definitely not the best strategy for me. I was 18 and addicted pretty bad, but when the baby saw a doctor under state care, he was covered in bruises, a couple of burns, and had 2 broken ribs already. I'm convinced she would have killed him. H is 10 now and happy and thriving. The whole experience, and legal battle when she tried to have me charged with kidnapping, is how I got sober.
Yes, back when I was younger, maybe 17, I got my first job at Domino's Pizza. One of my managers was a really SMY 24-year-old guy that looked like a troll, had astoundingly bad hygiene and also a crapty attitude, but sold good weed and bought me cigarettes. This was my first experience having older friends able to get me good stuff on demand like that. One day he hooked me up with a friend of his that was selling mushrooms, so I met with that guy and bought an ounce, and then walked to my manager's house to sell him some and also get some weed. So turns out him and his similarly aged sister, who has a 1-year-old baby, both live in makeshift bedsheet bedrooms in the back of the tiny house. They smoked inside, windows closed. Cats everywhere, bugs everywhere, weird gross sour smells coming from all areas. Everything gross. Their mum was home, but she was senile and addicted to painkillers, as well as the sister. So we did the trade downstairs, and when I go back upstairs I go to the kitchen to throw some stuff away and I see the baby in a high chair, eating a pack of cigarettes. He's just sitting there tearing them open and putting in his mouth and spitting it out. I ran downstairs and told the sister, and she just started yelling, "Mum! Mum, get the baby," a couple times lazily, then gives up and goes back to just sitting there. It was surreal. I hadn't ever experienced such neglect and disgust from people. I left and waited 2 days to call CPS because I didn't want my manager to know it was me who called. I know the kids got taken away and she went to live with a different family member, or at least that's what I was told.
Twice. Left anonymous tips, which I know are hard to follow up for such a strange child protection agency, but as a pot dealer it was all I felt I could do. I found out later one of the kids was put into foster care, adopted by the foster parents, and recently graduated a trade school. I have no idea about the other kids' siblings, but I hope they made it too. Kids should be protected. Humans only get one childhood. Let's let kids enjoy it, and grow to happy adults. Don't hurt them intentionally or by your own stupidity. ********. That also means washing your hands, people.
I pulled up to this woman's house. I was 19 at the time. She was a regular and often asked if I had any coke. I was strictly a marijuana dealer. When I walked into her house, she had 2 babies, twins. Female dealer here. When I asked to use the bathroom, she said she didn't have running water due to money issues. There was a 5-gallon bucket in the bathroom to pee and poop in. This bucket was extremely full, not to mention the overflowing trash cans and tied-off trash bags in the living room. I couldn't believe how gross her house was. I panicked. I called CPS and told them I was a family friend. I drove my car down the road a little and waited for the cops to show up. I watched them pull the woman out to the house in cuffs. She turned out to have heroin in her house. I still wonder about those twins today.
Not sure if this counts, but in the late 1990s, I used to sell reefer part-time while I was in college. One of my regular customers turned his sister onto me. She called for a delivery. No big deal. I went there one time. She had 3 little kids, like a couple toddlers and an infant. Her house was full of roaches. I was disgusted. I called CPS. Not because of the drugs and babies, but because of how fudging filthy that house was. It caused a lot of problems for her and her boyfriend. They were in the system for a long time. Not sure how it all turned out. But fudge that woman.
Back in college I went over to a single mother's house to drop off some bud. The kid was 3 years old. I walk in and notice it is extremely smoky, and I immediately have a hard time breathing. It smelled like rotten crap, trash, and cigarettes. I was there for about 3 minutes and went to use the bathroom, where I noticed fresh and dried blood on the toilet and crap smeared all over the floors and up the walls. The crap was old and hardened, and dead bugs were in the corners of the bathroom and piled on top of the feces. But that isn't the only icing on the cake. Once I left the bathroom, I went back out to the living room area and saw a big butt rat run right across the floor. Looked like he came right out of Ratatouille. Then the mother asked me if I wanted to take opioids, so I got the fudge out of the house and called CPS.
Former dealer here. It's been many years now, but I sold crack, heroin, pills, cocaine as a teenager. I once had a lady come in the trap house with a newborn. She was literally selling herself and or her baby for a few rocks. When I saw the newborn in crappy diapers and dirty as fudge, I knew I had to give her a few rocks. I let her smoke and leave. I also called BCW, Bureau of Children's Welfare, on her as soon as she walked out. She lived on my street. I couldn't let her try to sell her baby. I couldn't let her keep it either. I just couldn't call the police. The baby was in a foster home less than a week later. The lady disappeared shortly after. I never saw her again. I hope she never got the baby back. She was a real.
This was a long time ago, and I've since gotten clean and started my own family. But there was a girl I knew who was homeless with her newborn son. On Easter weekend, I was walking on this trail to go meet with some people to sell them a sack. It started raining, and that, of course, made me mad. There's these bridges that cross over the top of the trail, and lots of kids gather and smoke or get spun under the bridges. And that's where I found her. She was pee-butted out drunk with some random guy under the bridge while her newborn baby sat strapped in his car seat in the rain. He wasn't under the bridge. He was crying. And he looked dirty. I didn't have any children at this point, but I panicked seeing the little guy. I grabbed him, dropped all the crap I was supposed to be selling, and walked off the trail and up the couple blocks to the police station. I told them what happened and where I'd found him. CPS took him and he ended up getting adopted. Yes, she was shooting up while driving with her 18-month-old kid in the back unbuckled. Found out she was leaving him alone for hours to go out. FYI, I sold her weed, not opiates. She threatened to stab me because I bought diapers and opened the box so she couldn't sell them. Last I checked, she's still a scrid, and she's on her 237,567th chance with CPS.
Had one try to sell her child's body to me. Nuff said. Called the cops too, anonymously.
Throwaway. A mother wanted to buy 70 perks at once before a family trip. She had a 9-year-old in the car. Called CPS on the dog. Never will I ever deal you drugs in front of your kids. Fudge. Drop them off.
This was over 20 years ago, but yeah. I was selling pot, sometimes a few other things, but I was pretty minor. Messed around with a girl who I had just started buying from me. Went to sleep, and the next morning around 10, I get up to this completely naked little 3 years old running around. Okay fine, she's a kid, but you'd imagine a diaper would get on her butt by 10:30, right? Nah. I left at 1 with the naked baby running all over the house, the mom and her BF in the living room pee-butted out on what I now know was heroin and wouldn't move at all. Girl I had hung out with thought the whole thing was normal. I couldn't shake it. It's not like she was just naked, that's not a huge deal, it's that she was filthy. Nobody was taking care of her other than to make sure she had food. I guess maybe she was potty trained already. It's not like the house was filled with lakes of piss. Called and reported it to CPS the same day. She called me a day or two later telling me she was pregnant and needed to come stay with me. That's not how that crap works. Never heard from her again. I hope that many had a good life. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe and smack that bell icon to stay up to date on our videos. See you next time.